Mike Dempsey and Brian Sexton have all the news and information to get you ready for today's game.
Into the end zone, touchdown!
The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by Baptist Health, Farah and Farah, Yucatan Guacamole, and by EverBank. The Publix Tailgate Show starts right now.
Good evening and welcome into the Hyundai Studios at EverBank Stadium. Brian Sexton along with Mike Dempsey for hour number one of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. The good folks at Publix are sponsoring tonight's game. Sunday Night Football's return to EverBank Stadium. It's been since October of 2008 in the game against the Steelers that we've seen the Sunday Night Crew. And of course, the Sunday Night Crew now is a whole lot different.
Yes.
Except in this studio, where it is the same. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Brian, I'm very well, and hopefully the Jags will be feeling the same way about midnight tonight.
Do you remember just offhand that last Sunday Night Football appearance for the Jags?
I remember most of them, yeah.
Yeah, that was against the Steelers.
Yeah.
And it was John Madden's last game calling a Jaguars game, right? So his last Jaguars game, I should say. And the Jaguars lost that night and haven't been back. And since then, they've gone through some different iterations, and the Jaguars are finally back on Sunday Night Football, which is the hallmark. It's the center stage of the NFL schedule.
It's interesting. I think some players still think Monday night is that way because players play on Sunday. They're not all home. Half the league is traveling, right? But you're right. The league has certainly made it the premier matchup, right? They give NBC kind of the choice matchups. I think they are more worried about the eyes on that one on broadcast television than they are on cable television on Monday night. But like either way, the Jags are slowly but surely moving their way into where they're earning more of these opportunities.
Back in prime time,
yeah,
right? I mean,
absolutely.
third time this year. And if you count the two London games where they were the only game on, it's the fifth primetime game for the Jaguars. And this is obviously the biggest one. We've been in the studio here. We watched the Texans win in overtime over the Titans, and we watched last night as the Colts beat the Steelers. It's do or die. I mean, you got to put down for the division right now.
No doubt about it. I mean, look, no matter what, they're going to be in first place tomorrow because they hold tiebreakers, but you do not want to be limping in to Week 16 tied for the division lead with what you've still got to face. Don't think this Bucs team is going to be a team that lays down next week.
They won big today.
They went and played very impressively. They're going to be at home. They're 500. They're battling for a division title, so this is an opportunity game. The Jags have always played the Ravens well. Certainly recent history. Last year they got the W. Trevor Lawrence with a big fourth-quarter drive, and so let's do it again.
All right, let's see what they've got. We'll start with Monday Night Football. The Jaguars have lost 2 games in a row. It's going to be the Ravens on the big stage, and, of course, there's some pressure that comes with that. Doug was asked this week about having a mentally tough team ready to handle it.
A lot of confidence downstairs. I mean, the guys are excited for this week. It's a two good football teams coming together, 2 top 4 right now in the AFC, playing, and obviously it's great for the NFL, great for fans, and these are the games. Again, it goes back to what I expect our players to get used to, right? Playing in moments like this and games like this. Baltimore obviously has, but the confidence is high. And the confidence is great. I mean, again, it just we have to turn it internally and just focus on us and make sure we are doing everything that we can in our power to be prepared for these games. But the confidence is there.
You just highlighted 5 standalone games, including this one tonight, right? The Jags are 3-1 in those games, but they've had the one Monday nighter. This is a Sunday nighter. They also had the quote-unquote litmus test game against San Francisco. They didn't really show up against San Francisco. They didn't show up the first Houston game coming off the Kansas City loss. I mean, when I say didn't show up fully emotionally. The head coach himself, Doug Peterson, acknowledged that, or intensity-wise. And the same thing with the Cincinnati Bengal game. Great opportunity. So I don't think it's an unfair question, Brian, and I would expect they understand where they stand with all that stuff right now.
Trevor Lawrence, of course, also talked about that, and he was asked, is there enough time? The head coach mentioned that this team has time to play their best football. Trevor was asked about it as well.
We got four games left. We're in a fine position, where we're at record-wise. We got to take care of business this week and moving forward, but we got to take it 1 week at a time and need to get back on track this week for sure. But, yeah, there's still plenty of time. You look at where we're at. If we could have been in this position last year, we would have given a lot to be here. So, there's no panic, but there is a sense of urgency where, this time of year, December, going into January, you got to be playing your best football, and we're not there yet, so we got some work to do.
Look, they've been in these last couple of games. One play here or there could have changed the outcome of those. It didn't, obviously, and they are where they are. But like, you want to talk, is there enough time to turn it around? If this week did not prove to you how much the NFL is the ultimate week-to-week sports league, the Raiders in the last 2 games are averaging 31.5 points. They scored 0, and then they scored 63. So you tell me, did they turn it around? You know what I mean?
Totally get it. Totally get it. But in terms of playing your best football, can you go from mistakes, turnovers, penalties the last 2 weeks? Look, they've lost 2 games by 7 points. They've scored 58 points with Christian Kirk gone, and yet they've still lost because of the mistakes. Can you, in 1 week, and a win over the Ravens might absolutely do that, start playing your best football?
I think you can. Whether they will be determined, right? And you don't necessarily have to play your best football to beat the Baltimore Ravens. I know they're very good, and I'm not trying to detract from anything that they've done this year, but they've been beaten by some teams that you look at and go, well, it's kind of interesting as well. You know, they play down to the competition a little bit at times as well, but, you know, they managed to win their close games for the most part.
I'm going to define their best football as creating turnovers, protecting the football, staying strong in the red zone because they've been good in the red zone the last 2 weeks, and getting better on third down, right? Those are 4 areas I'm looking for.
Can they do all those things? Unlikely that they will do all those things.
Well,
tonight.
in one game tonight, I agree, but over the next 4 weeks, can you get geared up in those areas? Because those have really been the areas that have told the story of the Jaguars winning and losing all season long.
Right. Look, win tonight, and I frankly don't care if they played their best football or not. I mean, that's what this game kind of just means, and you still got 3 weeks then to hopefully tune up a little bit. But this one, if you get the win, gives you just that extra bit of breathing room.
One spot that would give the offense breathing room, Mike, is if they could get the running game going. It just has not. 3.6 yards per carry is below the expectation level. This is always going to be a team that throws the ball, but they've got to be able to run in situations. Like last week in the fourth quarter on 3rd and 1, taking the deep shot instead of just pounding one out. They've got to get it going, but they haven't been able to. The offensive coordinator took to the podium this week and was asked the question, what'll it take?
Okay, to find different ways. You know, last week, kind of our move at one point in time was to go some Wildcat. We had a couple different runs out of the Wildcat to try to spark the run game a little bit. We had some production early on. Then obviously didn't produce as well as we liked in the second half. Dynamics of the game changed a little bit. But, yeah, there's certain different elements, giving different people the ball, trying a couple different things as you get going on certain things, but always trying to put our guys in the best position.
The Ravens are a good defense. They're close to middle of the pack in terms of yardage allowed against the run. But, you know, this is a major area of concern, Brian, and we'll find out who's available on that offensive line tonight. I mean, we've tracked Travis Etienne's yards per carry for the last 2 months now. He's had one game over 4 in that period of time. So I don't know. This is something that you don't have reinforcements coming. This is, you know, you're going to have a few guys that can come in, but they're the same guys that were in there when you weren't producing earlier in the season as well.
Got to play your best football. You've got to play good football, no matter whether you're the left guard, Ezra Cleveland, or you're Buster Brown, who's filling in for Tyson Campbell again tonight.
And I think you got to get Etienne on the edge more as well. You know, between the tackles, just not getting it done. And I'm not even saying it's his fault. He's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage. They need to find a way to break him outside the tackle box.
He had 14 carries last week, and 6 of those 14 were for 1 yard, 0 yards, or a negative.
Well, it was averaging 4.2 at the half. He was -7 in the second half.
I know. They did not work very well. Hey, the last time we saw the Jaguars in primetime here in Jacksonville, the Jaguars defense struggled against the Cincinnati Bengals, and the word afterwards was they didn't communicate very well, poise in the noise, if you will. Mike Caldwell was quick on the uptake this week when he was asked about what kind of crowd he expected against the Ravens.
Talked about it and understand that, you know, you have to embrace your home crowd, and we want them as loud as they can be, and we'll deal with it. We want the Ravens to have to deal with it. So, you know, come, be vocal, let the place get rocking, and we'll take care of ours.
It's kind of funny with all the commentary about the crowd noise in the last couple of weeks, you know, in terms that Mike Caldwell goes, don't worry, come. We'll handle.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Right, we'll
figure it
handle it. Make the noise. We need that energy tonight, and they're much more like it is on them to communicate in a hostile environment, in a loud environment, in a quiet environment. They've got to do a better job.
Foye Oluokun has had a really good season at middle linebacker, but that night he overran plays, he missed tackles, and there were communication issues. And especially with Andre Sisco out of the middle of that defense tonight, they are going to have whoever is on the back end communicating with Foye, playing really solid against Lamar Jackson.
No question about it. I mean, at one point last week, you had 4 of the Jags' 5 starters, including the nickel, not on the field in the secondary last week. So communication is going to be paramount tonight. Lamar Jackson's got better outside receivers than at any point in his career, and they'll take shots down the field.
Speaking of Lamar Jackson, let's have our final soundbite from Devin Lloyd, who is going to be one of those guys asked to know where he is on the field at all times.
Yeah, we obviously know he's a threat with his legs. I think he's leading all quarterbacks in rushing yards, so that's something we got to take count for. Everybody's just got to be gap sound and really disciplined with their eyes. They do a lot of misdirection stuff. They have gadget guys and some speed on that offense. So, it's going to be a tough offense. I think they're second in rushing yards, so, we got to just be disciplined.
Oh, look, Lamar, you just got to wrap him up, man. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. People hesitate to go after him like they did Barry Sanders, because you're afraid of the big play when you take your shot and miss. But that hesitancy allows him to bounce around the pocket, allows him to find guys downfield, and he just has this knack for extending the play. Tackling is probably the number one priority for this team overall tonight.
Jaguars have at times this year tackled well, but in the last 2 weeks, we haven't quite seen the same performance level from Mike Caldwell's unit. That's been a focal point on the practice field all week. All right, prime time, here we go. It is Radio Magic moment here on the Publix Tailgate Show. Time for Come On Somebody. Hit it, E.T.
Hello? Hello? Who is this? Boy, what's wrong with you? Oh, you!
Why?
Oh, what you thought this was?
We lost to the Jags!
It was always the Jags. Always have been, always will be.
The Jags! The Jags!
Duval! Come on, somebody!
Let's go! Devin Lloyd's about to shut down Lamar in the run.
Oh, so Devin Lloyd about to do that by himself?
As long as our kicker can stay good, Trevor's about to take off.
Duval!
Jags 35, Ravens 27.
35-27?
Let's go, Jags.
Sign me up then.
Let's finish this season off strong.
Hulk Hogan.
Get into the playoffs.
Postseason.
Get healthy.
Eat your Wheaties.
And let the chips fall where they may.
Cross that bridge when we get there.
Go Jags, baby.
Come on, somebody.
Number one, having grown up here and knowing what this town was like, I'm super grateful for the change in culture that the Jaguars brought here.
The culture is definitely a little bit different here. There's a little more expectation.
But more than that, I got season tickets day one.
So you're what the kids would call a ride or die.
And my son was 7 years old, and he got to grow up with heroes and football in his face, and we still to this day go to home games together, and he's 33 years old.
Well, why don't you bring your day one season ticket holder behind and your 33-year-old son meet me at the Bud Zone. Brackish vodka on your boy.
What a blessing that is. What a joy it's been, even through the bad times.
Come on, somebody.
Yes, E.T., we got to take it back to the prayer, Lord.
You ain't telling me nothing. I pray every day.
So let us pray.
Let us bow our heads then.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you just to say thank you.
Oh, yes.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for letting us see another Sunday night, Lord. We know it's been 15 years.
15 long ones.
But we know you have done this for a reason. Lord, you said all we need to do is speak it into existence, and you will bring it to our forefront, Lord.
'Tis the season.
Lord, we ask these things in your name, we pray. And we all say.
What we say?
Duval.
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 And one last thing.
It's not the Jaguars anymore. like it's the mother effing Jacksonville Jaguars.
Come on, somebody!
Look, I take this as a really good sign because E.T. is clearly getting better. He was better tonight than he was last week.
I agree.
Now, if the Jaguars can follow E.T.'s lead, could we get him to lead them out onto the field tonight?
That'd be great. And honestly, I thought the fans were very enthusiastic and optimistic, all things considered, with the recent results that the Jags have posted. So I'll echo that. Duval!
Jags and Ravens coming up on Sunday Night Football just after 8 o'clock kickoff. But we've got much more of our number one of the Publix Tailgate Show, including...
Those lights are bright as hell out there. They were really bright on Monday. Going to be really bright Sunday.
Oh, it's Devin Engram coming off his best performance of the season last week in Cleveland with 2 touchdowns. And he joins me to talk about getting things figured out on offense in the Baptist Health player interview. Plus, CBS sports writer, senior sports writer Pete Prisco joins us. The Ravens and Jags just about 3 hours away here on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Tackle your marketing needs with Kessler Creative. Providing direct mail services for more than a decade, Kessler has a wide range of services from small mailers to large banners and signs. Draft Kessler as your first pick to receive the best targeted mail list. Elevate your business and be on the winning team with Kessler Creative. Kessler Creative, results-driven marketing and proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Watch them win in Houston and Nashville. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Hi Jags fans, Andre Sisco here, safety of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This season, I've partnered up with Luray Peanut Company to serve a greater mission for the Jacksonville community with the Peanut Pickoff. Here's the deal. Every time the Jags make a pick, Luray is going to donate to youth football initiatives in and around the Jacksonville area. On top of that, the Jaguars Foundation will match every dollar. With each interception, our team inches closer to that W, and our kids get to train for a brighter future. Remember, it was always the Jags. Duval!
Brooks Rehabilitation has more than 50 years of experience serving the North Florida community with cutting-edge rehabilitation care, ranging from joint replacements, sports injuries, and balance issues to traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, and strokes. Their highly trained clinical teams span across their system of care to include inpatient, outpatient, skilled nursing, assisted living and memory care, home health, and adaptive community programs. Learn more at brooksrehab.org. Brooks is proud to be the rehabilitation provider for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Publix Tailgate Show rolls along here, hour number one. Brian and Mike with you from the Hyundai Studios inside EverBank Stadium. And the game this evening is presented by our friends from Publix. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Last 2 weeks have been a challenge for the Jaguars and their fans. And I am sure that Pete Prisco has some points to make about a team that he picked to go deep into the playoffs. As we come into this final month of the season, how was your conversation this week?
By the way, we can still go deep into the playoffs. There's no question.
Oh,
right?
sure.
It's all out there.
Of course.
But, wanted to start off with Pete, just kind of reflecting. These are two games the last 2 weeks against playoff fighting opponents, caliber opponents. Look at what Cincinnati has been able to do, but still disappointing that the Jags let so many opportunities get away.
Well, I mean, you look at it and you say, okay, where's the positive? And it's hard to find it, Mike, I'll be honest with you. I just think when you look at the way they've played the last 2 weeks, I think the only word to describe it is disappointing. Evan Engram is the one positive that's really come out of it. I think he's shown people that he's an elite pass catcher. He's on pace for a boatload of catches, over 100, and I think that's the one positive that stands out from the last couple of weeks. Other than that, lots of problems.
Well, one of the problems, Pete, has been the offensive line, right? Whether you look at protection or just simply not opening enough holes in the running game. Travis Etienne carried it for negative yards in the second half last week, but it does seem like they're getting healthier up front. Is that the best hope? We can just keep our fingers crossed that they'll get their ideal 5 back together.
That's just it, Mike. They haven't had their ideal 5 at all the entire season, and that's been a problem. It started with Cam Robinson being suspended, then he got hurt, and then you have Walker Little move to left tackle after moving in at guard, and he got hurt, and then Ezra Cleveland plays left tackle, and he gets hurt. He's supposed to be the left guard, so on and on it goes, and I think it's been a major problem. Plus the center, he's not playing very well, and when your center doesn't play very well, you don't get a lot of push in the run game, and that's been a major concern. So they do have to get that line together, and they have to get it cranked up quickly.
One thing, Pete, that this defense did for the Jaguars very early in the season was really tackle very surely, right? They got to the ball carrier, and generally that guy didn't get a whole lot more after that. Well, that hasn't been the case recently. That's been one of the problems here. Now you've got Lamar Jackson coming in, who is powerful and slippery, and we know he can run as well as any quarterback in the league in a long time. So what do we do about this? Can you fix that over the final 4 weeks of the season?
It's interesting because, back in the day, they used to tackle during practice. And, it wasn't always full go, but you tackled. They don't do that anymore. So I think particularly when you get backups in the game, and they've had some backups in the secondary in the game, those guys aren't used to the speed of the game and the angles of the game, and I think their tackling has been bad. But it hasn't just been the backups either. Across the board, the tackling has been awful. And I think angles have been bad. Recognition has been bad. And I think they have to be better with their eyes. And they're a young group. It almost looks like when they start becoming a good team and they start reading their press clippings, they let the little things go. And I think that shows up on Sunday.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about Lamar Jackson, the challenge that they have, Pete. Todd Monken's brought in a new offensive system. Lamar has better outside weapons than at any point in his professional career. Is he as dangerous right now as any quarterback in the National Football League?
Oh, I don't think there's any question about that. And, the question going into the season was, could he stand in the pocket, make the throws? Would he be capable of adjusting to this style of offense? And I think he can. And he's always been a good passer, probably never got the credit he deserved for being a passer. So I think in this system, it kind of, really highlights the fact that he has improved as a passer, but he's still dynamic with his legs, and you have to keep your eyes on him. And they're starting to get better on the outside. Guys, Beckham's starting to make some plays. So it's a tough offense to defend, and it's going to be a real challenge for a defense that hasn't been good the last couple of weeks.
For this Jaguar team, when the expectations have been the highest, sometimes they haven't performed their best this season, Pete. I think for a lot of Jaguar fans coming in, they're skeptical about the way they're playing, the quality of the opponent tonight in the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe kind of sneaking into this one a little bit is a good formula for them. How do you see it going?
You're not wrong about that. I think the Ravens will find a way to win the game, but you're not wrong about your assessment of that, Mike. I do think that this is a young group that kind of gets a little full of themselves, and would it shock me to see him pull the upset here and win the game? No. But again, that's not a good formula for success over the course of the season. You have to be able to do it week in and week out. I think, that's a lesson they're learning. It'll be a tight game, but I think the Ravens will find a way to win it.
All right, so Pete Prisco with a couple of thoughts, Mike, that I want to circle back to you on. And the first is figuring some things out on offense in particular, in the offensive line. We don't have anything official. We won't for another hour yet. But both Walker Little and Ezra Cleveland practiced on a limited basis. Mm-hmm. There's a chance they could have both of them back in the lineup this evening. That would not only bode well against a team that leads the league in sacks and a team that has the second highest win percentage rushing the quarterback, but also getting the running game started, which we talked about with Press Taylor earlier.
Look, the Jags are not going to have the best offensive line in the league, but they want to put their best 5 out there. And right now, with Cam Robinson unavailable, Walker Little and Ezra Cleveland, certainly the best left side of that offensive line, Brian. They don't seem inclined to make any other moves to tinker with any of the other spots there. So this is the 5 that, based on the players that they have that are not on injured reserve, that they'd like to roll out there tonight. So, yeah, I mean, that's the hope, that they're both there, and not only both there to start the game, but they can both battle their way through a full 60 minutes and help protect Trevor Lawrence tonight.
And another thing is now they've had 2 straight games without Christian Kirk. And Kirk is that guy that creates spacing for everyone else, besides being that dump-off guy, that guy that Trevor trusts so implicitly. They've got to figure out who that guy is. And I'm not talking about Evan Engram. I'm talking about somebody else that can be that guy that will make the difficult catch on 3rd down and 6.
Well, it'll be interesting tonight to see what they do with Jamal Agnew and or Parker Washington, right? Because we anticipate Agnew will be back in his primary role as a return man, and he was certainly playing ahead of Washington earlier this year. But do they want to keep Parker Washington in that Christian Kirk role, let Agnew just concentrate on that? He hasn't been perfect, but Washington, Trevor's found him on some key plays in the last couple of weeks.
He's made some big ones, yeah.
He needs that. And, look, they need better efficiency out of their top guys, though. He had 14 targets. What was it, 14 and 13 last week for Zay and Calvin Ridley, and they caught about a third of those. You know, you need to be much more productive. Zay had a big game last week against this Ravens team. Let's hope a rematch kind of sparks that. And, if Trevor can complete 50% of the throws he's making to Ridley and Zay, it's going to help this offense tremendously.
One more thing on Parker Washington. The last couple of weeks he has been replacing both Jamal Agnew, a Pro Bowl return man, and Christian Kirk. So if Agnew is back and Washington can focus a little bit more on what he does, which is playing in the slot, I think he's made a couple of nice plays. He obviously made the rookie mistake last week. He's tough. He's smart. He's got great feet. He's a guy with a lot of upward potential. Maybe over this 4-game stretch here at the end, he can be one of those rookie receivers that makes a play or two a game that helps you win.
That would be fantastic. The Jags can take it from wherever it comes from at this point in time, just try to hold on and hopefully get Kirk back for the postseason.
All right, our player interview this week is tight end Evan Engram, brought to you by Baptist Health and the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, the official sports medicine provider of the Jaguars, coming off his best game, 11 catches, 95 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And, of course, the timing is good because, as we mentioned, Christian Kirk is not in the lineup. Engram is the Jaguars' leading receiver and tracking towards a 100-catch season with 4 to play. He does his talking on the field, but knows that everyone has to find their role for this thing to work with a player the caliber of Kirk sitting on the sidelines.
I think it's honestly to each his own. You know the role you have, the routes you have, the things that you're asked to do on Sunday, the reps you get in practice. Everybody has their role, and I think it's just we do a good job of honing in on that. It could just be a little bit better. We can go that extra mile of everybody honing in on their role, asking the questions that need to be asked, getting the reps that need to get, and like I said, to each his own. I think if we do that collectively, we'll all be on the same page.
Is that the kind of thing that happens when you have a key component like a Christian Kirk go out, that everybody kind of has to refine their role?
Yeah, I think it's refine your role and, take it up another level. Like, we can't replace that. We can't replace Christian and his ability and his leadership and who he is. He won't be out there. So everybody's job has to mean more. Everybody's preparation has to go up. And you got to make the play when it comes to you. So everything has to go up when we lose a player like that.
You've been around this league long enough to see crazy things. The Bears beating the Lions, the Titans going down and beating the Dolphins the other night. That's just where this league is. So there's plenty of time for you guys to get where you want to be, it would seem.
Yeah, I like where we're at. I like the adversity we're facing right now. I don't think we deserve to be comfortable or to be in a spot where we're proud right now with as much football we have left. This journey we're on right now, I think, is right where we need to be, and it's our job to figure it out and learn from this and take the lessons and get better. And that we have an opportunity to get better, even through the adversity that we're in and we faced the last 2 weeks.
The adversity's not that bad. Your back's not really against the wall, but do you kind of like that edge? Does this team need that?
Yeah, we're 8-5. If you told a lot of teams at the beginning of the season that you'll be 8-5 in week 15 or 14, whatever, they'd probably be happy. We're 8-5 and we're pissed off. So I think that's the credit to the standard we set for ourselves around here, and where we know we can take it and it could be better. So
one last thought on Sunday Night Football with the Ravens coming in. It's a big stage. A lot can get right with a win against the Ravens.
Those lights are bright as hell out there. They were really bright on Monday. Gonna be really bright Sunday. A great atmosphere. We're just ready to get back out there and right this ship. And what a great opportunity. The number one team in the AFC. Let's go see where we're at. Let's go take them down and get back rolling.
Evan's right about one thing. They don't deserve to be comfortable right now. They put themselves in that position, and but compared it to last year, Brian, they still control what happens. They don't need help. Just go out there and win your own football game.
You have to figure he's the guy that the Ravens are going to take away.
They're going to try, absolutely, but he's hot right now. I mean, you see it all the time. Teams that come in and they're ranked this against a certain position group or that against a certain position group, and guys have massive days against them. I think this is going to be a chess match to see how many different ways they can get the ball to Evan Engram tonight, because he has been the most reliable offensive weapon Trevor Lawrence has had by far the last couple weeks.
And in many respects, with the short catches to get first downs, he's been their running game too. He has effectively been their running game.
A lot of truth to that, absolutely.
All right, coming up in about 15 minutes, Hall of Famer Tony Boselli and Jeff Lageman join us from the booth. But up next,
taking ownership in it. It's spending more time outside the building, so we're playing fast when our number's called, and me getting the guys ready.
Wide receivers coach Chad Hall joins me to talk about getting on the same page with a big Sunday night showdown between the Jaguars and the Ravens. They're up just after 8 o'clock, and we're back after this on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softy.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities Program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
JEA is proud to be Northeast Florida's community-owned utility. So what does that mean? It means we serve our local customers, not investors. That we're always focused on keeping our costs as low as possible while exploring new ways to deliver clean, affordable energy and water. And that we invest in our people and infrastructure to deliver reliable, sustainable services. Because for 127 years, JEA has been here to serve you, and only you. JEA, your community, your utility.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Flight by Yuengling is the next generation of light beer. For those who don't follow trends, but craft them. Flight by Yuengling is 12 ounces of uncompromised refreshment from America's oldest brewery. With only 2.6 grams of carbs and 95 calories, this is premium refreshment 6 generations in the making. Don't just raise a glass, raise the bar. Flight by Yuengling. Available wherever beer is sold. DG Yuengling & Son Incorporated. Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please enjoy responsibly.
right, we're back with the Publix Tailgate Show, hour number 1. The Ravens and Jaguars set for a Week 15 Sunday Night Football showdown coming up at 8:15 Eastern Time. Brian with Mike here from the Hyundai Studios. And tonight's game is presented by our presenting sponsor of the Publix Tailgate Show, Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. And it's time for our weekly commentary from Rick Ballou.
Jaguars under the lights. Second time in 3 weeks. They've had plenty of success here against the Baltimore Ravens. 8-3 lifetime in Duval. And that includes a 28-27 thriller a year ago where the Jaguars scored 18 points in the fourth quarter. Also flipped the switch during the second half of the season where they would win 6 out of their final 7 games. Yet you got to go back to a 28-27 ball game in late August of 1997 in Baltimore that would end up being the best move that the organization has ever made. That game was played at the old Memorial Stadium. You know, Earl Weaver, The Garden, Brooks, Frank Robinson, Eddie Murray, Johnny Unitas, John Mackey. I'll never forget Art Modell walking into the press box with all sorts of security, and I was like, why? He's a hero here. Bigger than any of the names I just mentioned. Cleveland, sure, that'd be a problem, but not in Baltimore. The start of the year, Mark Brunell could not go. He was injured. So it was backup Rob Johnson. He went 20 of 24 for 294, 2 touchdowns to Jimmy Smith. And at the end of the year, they would trade Rob Johnson to the Buffalo Bills for a first-rounder, a fourth-rounder, which led to the 9th pick overall in Fred Taylor. Every Jaguar fan listening remembers that it was Buffalo made the deal with Jacksonville, which produced Fred Taylor. But only old-school fans know it was the performance of Rob Johnson in Baltimore which led to the trade. Tonight, I feel like it's another one of those run and stop the run games. I thought that last year. Jaguars only ran up for 38 yards. Baltimore, 162 yards rushing. Maybe it's this. Unfortunately, Jags are 0-3 against top 10 defenses this year. Baltimore comes in with the second overall defense as far as total and scoring. That's going to be tough to navigate through. The Jaguars are 5-2 against winning teams. Maybe that's the difference. Or could this be the game where finally the Jaguars play for a full 60 minutes?
We will find out coming up beginning at 8:15. And communication issues have been the narrative this week and in recent weeks, defense, offense. I caught up with Jaguars wide receivers coach Chad Hall and asked him about the perception of miscommunication. Was it real? How do you fix it?
Starts with me, putting people in the right spots to be successful. You know, we've had some moving pieces over the last couple of weeks, and people got to step up. People have had to take on more responsibility, and some people are doing things that they don't normally do. So it's taking ownership in it. It's spending more time outside the building, so we're playing fast when our number's called. And me getting the guys ready, and it all comes down to me. Yeah.
When you say extra outside the building, what can guys do? Is it spending time together?
Yeah, and it's spending time with the quarterback. Because really, we can call the perfect play, we can call the worst play, but at the end of the day, the players got to execute it. And they've got to be on the same page with Trevor. In this coverage, they're going to run it like this. In that coverage, they're going to run this route like that. So it's talking about it because at this time of this year, we can't get all those reps, you know, especially with some guys we got down. We got to do a lot of stuff mentally. So it's preparing in the classroom so we can play fast on game days.
I know there are no excuses, and everyone's got players hurt. But how much do you miss Christian Kirk? How big of a part of the offense is he?
He's been a big part, you know, since he's gotten here. And he's a well-respected receiver in this league. He knows how to get open. He's strong. And he's also he's like the second quarterback on the field in terms of intelligence. So he's a quarterback security blanket, if you will, who he can trust. So they have a great relationship. But the one thing that Christian has always done is he's always brought the next man up, brought the younger guys along. You know, he knows he can help the young guys. And since training camp, when he's not in, he's coaching them up. So it's next man up mentality, and these guys are ready. They're hungry. They want their number called, so now they just got to go out there and make plays.
That said, you've scored 58 points in the last 2 weeks, and you've only had Christian for one snap. Who has stepped up to help you get where you want to be?
I think everybody. I mean, it always starts up front. protecting the quarterback and creating lanes for the running back, but then the running back's in protection. Evan's done a great job. He's created some space. We put Calvin all over, inside, outside. We've kind of opened his role. Getting Zay back has helped. Again, just another guy who's been in the system 2 years. So, and these young guys have helped. I mean, Parker's been ready all year. He's smart, so he's playing fast. And now we'll have some other guys, Tim, Elijah Cooks, and getting Ags back hopefully this week. We opened his window, so hopefully he'll be able to play another guy who can play all the spots.
Tell me about Parker in particular. I think it's interesting. He's trying to replace some of what Christian Kirk does, but also he's been replacing Jamal Agnew. That's 2 Pro Bowl guys that he's had to replace. 6th-round pick who missed time with an injury of his own. Tell me about him in particular and what you saw in him and where he's at.
Yeah, it's not too big for him. No moment's too big. He's not out there thinking about what he's doing. He's confident, which is, you got to play this game with confidence. And he's done really well. He's done really well as a returner, made good decisions, made some plays, and then when he's gotten in on offense, he's created space even when he's not getting the ball. And we're just pushing him every play to strain every play, but he's a guy that he loves the moment, so he wants more, and he's ready for more.
Doug mentioned last week that this team needs to be playing its best football at this time of the year. Is there enough time to get things, even without Christian Kirk, going to play your best football before the season is over?
Oh yeah, I mean, shoot, man, all year I think we've had the receiver group. Besides the first 2 games, I don't think we've all been together. So it's been like that all year. Everyone's stepped up. I mean, Tim Jones has been, my little Swiss Army knife, security blanket. Whenever I need someone, I throw him in, which has been great. And his toughness, his physicality. But, of course, I mean, now we can just start to build this thing, get on a run here to end the year to get some momentum heading on into the playoffs. Because sometimes, I mean, you've been around this league a long time. I mean, it's not necessarily the best record. It's more who's got that momentum going into the year, into the playoffs. Who's got that confidence. So that's what we're trying. That's what we're trying to get.
All right, Mike. A name we've talked in this first hour about different receivers. We talked about Evan. We talked about Parker. We talked about Jamal. I'm not sure the name Calvin Ridley has been brought up here in this first hour. And that's a guy that tonight could be a difference maker.
Well, look, play like the guy we thought you were going to be this year. And he has been at times, right, but he's been very inconsistent. And at times it seems like he hasn't been on the same page with Trevor Lawrence, which is, disappointing this deep into the season. But he's also drawn a ton of pass interference penalties, which help move this offense along. He's had some spectacular individual games, and he's got that capability, Brian. It's almost like we're like, Ridley, we're going to get 45, 50 yards out of him. And, hey, how about 145 yards tonight, right? I mean, he's still got that in him.
If he plays his best football, like we talked about earlier, guys individually playing their best football at this moment of the season.
He and Zay Jones both. Zay admitted last week, not a good game for him, not his best performance. Those guys need to step up tonight, whatever cliche you want to use, because the Ravens are going to probably put up some points on this team, and the Jags are going to have to match.
All right, folks, if you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, then look no further than Ford F-150. It's loaded with impressive capability and designed to dominate. Work, play, everything you could imagine. The truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, coming up, it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show with JP Shadrick. But before we get there, we go to the booth with Jeff and Tony. The Jaguars and Ravens kick off just after 8 o'clock Eastern in Week 15. And this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, EverBank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game after the game, and during the game. Imagine traveling to watch the Jaguars take on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville aboard a luxury private jet. Download the free Vaunt app at flyvaunt.com/Jags for your chance to win round-trip private flights, hotel stay, game tickets, and pregame field passes for you and 3 of your friends. When you become a Vaunt member, you can unlock the opportunity to fly private for an entire year for only $1,000. That's it. So download Vaunt at flyvaunt.com/Jags and discover a world of private jet travel today.
Everyone wins when 2 great traditions team up. Yucatan Guacamole is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Our authentic guacamole recipe starts with hand-scooped avocados and ends up in your hands fresh and ready to enjoy. Grab some on game day at the Yucatan Cantina or Yucatan Nacho Carts around the stadium or at local retail stores. Sack your snack game with Yucatan Guacamole.
As the official ticket marketplace of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the NFL, Ticketmaster has a wide selection of tickets available for every game. Whether you're cheering on the Jaguars at home or away, Ticketmaster has you covered. With Ticketmaster's interactive seat map, you'll get a 360-degree preview of your seat so you can make sure you've got the best view of those pivotal plays. Plus, the Ticketmaster app makes it easy to sell or transfer tickets if your plans change. And mobile tickets make getting in on game day a breeze. Find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars. That's Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars. Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog. Made in Florida, Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer.
And we're back with the Publix Tailgate Show. Brian and Mike from the Hyundai Studios in EverBank Stadium. And today's game is presented by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Time now for First Rounds on Us.
New York Jets, first-round choice, Jeff Lageman.
The Jacksonville Jaguars have selected tackle Southern California, Tony Boselli.
And Jeff and Tony join us now from the broadcast booth. Fellas, good evening.
What do you say, Brian? What's up?
Well, you tell me.
Hey,
we
I can
can't
tell
see
you
the
one
weather.
thing.
Is it still raining?
It's not. It's fantastic. I mean, you know what? You couldn't have asked for better. You know, the wind and the rain and all of that has kind of subsided a little bit. Still got a little bit of wind, but it's not too bad.
All right. So that brings us to the UF Health delivering compassionate care and world-class outcomes question for you gentlemen. And that is, and you're going to get all kinds of questions about Lamar Jackson. You're going to talk about him to an extreme tonight. So I'm going to flip it on you. How do the Jaguars find a way to run the ball with any consistency at all, with any success at all tonight against the Ravens?
Well, Brian, that's going to be tough because they haven't run the ball against anybody in the last 7 or 8 weeks. And it's been a big issue. I mean, you look at last week's game against the Browns, they called 57 drop-back passes. They had 3 sacks and 4 Trevor scrambles and 50 attempts. Only 17 runs by a running back. And if you have that run-pass ratio tonight, it's going to be a problem because the Ravens don't have one like great pass rusher like Myles Garrett last week, but they do it by committee, and they're very creative in their blitz. They have a lot of picks where they'll pick and twist. They're a good front, and when they are at their best is when they have teams behind the sticks. And if you look at the Rams game last week, and the Rams played very well, scored 31 points, and it was because they ran the ball, and they were physical up front. And that's something our offensive line has not been this year consistently. So that's a long way of saying those 5 guys up front, tight ends, they got to come off the ball. They have to come downhill. They have to move human beings and create some space. And then our backs who are beat up got to find the hole and hit it and get your pad level down. Getting 3-4 is fine. That's how you get to the 5, 6, 10-plus runs is get downhill, hit the hole, be definitive. And so it's a combination of being more physical up front and the backs running downhill.
Let me add something to it there. I think also a big part of that's got to be Trevor. And what I mean by that is that I don't think you can just line up and play bully ball with this Ravens defense and run the football. So Trevor's got to be efficient. It puts a lot of pressure on him. He's got to be able to connect with Evan Engram, whether it's Jamal Agnew if he's playing today, checking the ball down out of the backfield. They've got to find short passes as well to kind of help that running game.
Jeff, I don't disagree with you. I'm in your camp. I mean, I think history will tell you, why all of a sudden tonight would they, change kind of the physical nature of how they play up front. I just don't. I worry that if you get in a situation where it is all about Trevor dropping back, even on the short passes, because they're good in the secondary. They're really good in the secondary, and they're physical and they're aggressive, and they're going to take away the short stuff and say, hey, listen, we're going to force you to hold the ball and throw it over the top. Now, can Trevor do that? Absolutely, but it's going to take if it's going to be what we've seen the last 7 or 8 weeks, where there's really no run game to speak of. Trevor's going to have one of those nights where you just sit back and go, wow.
Yep, I totally agree.
Well, guys, I mean, you talk about the short passing game. What about the screen game in particular, right? Because if you can't push it right between the tackles, and they are the best pass rushing team in the league, at least in terms of sacks generated in the Baltimore Ravens, isn't that one of the best ways to slow down that pass rush?
Well, it is, but, part of that also is that you got to make sure that you can sell it. Okay, and, that's the one thing that's hard sometimes about the screen game is that, look, sometimes defenses do a great job of sniffing it out, and if you can't sell it, it's not going to work.
Well, let me give you my perspective. It's a little bit different. Mike, I think it's a little bit of a myth that the screen game slows down a pass rush because every great pass rusher I ever played against and every team who had great pass rushers, they're okay giving up the occasional screen and running it down and, giving up, 10, 15 yards. Because they know you can't do it consistently. Like, the screen game is not something you can call consistently because
you can't sell it all the time.
You can't sell it. And so great pass rushers and great pass rushing teams, they're going after the quarterback, and if they get you in down and distance where they know you are behind the sticks, they're going to pin their ears back and say, you know what, we're good enough on the back half where we will react and come up and make a play on the screen game.
Plain and simple, this offense needs to have Trevor to have an outstanding night. And if he does, you got a chance to beat the AFC's top-ranked team.
Well, and that team comes in with a quarterback that everyone focuses on stopping as well, and usually when the Ravens win, Lamar Jackson plays well. Guys, is tackling, just that alone, tackling cleanly tonight, as important as anything the Jaguars are going to do?
Well, tackling for sure, and finding a way to get Lamar Jackson to be a pocket passer. If all of a sudden, they're running the ball pretty effectively, and it's 2nd and 3, and it's 3rd and 2, and 3rd and 3, you're going to have a hard time stopping them, just because of the variability of Lamar Jackson, and he has the ability to run that read option stuff, the read option pass game, and then also you add in the fact that he's one of the best passers as far as avoiding the pass rush and extending the play. I mean, this is a tough task. So you got to try to make him a drop-back passer.
Yeah, and Jeff, I worry less about the zone read because they don't do it like they used to. I mean, you have to be on your P's and Q's and have that rule base. Where I worry about, and you saw it against the Rams, he had 70 yards rushing last week against the Rams. The majority of that was from the pocket, nothing open early, him running around making 3 guys miss in the pocket, getting outside, and next thing you know, he's picked up 15 yards. Or he's getting better at this than he's ever been, him running around his eyes down the field and throwing a bomb and hitting a big play or a crosser or something late. And so Jeff's right. If you can keep him in the pocket, he's still good. He's much better from the pocket than he's ever been in his career. But where he gets just utterly unstoppable and dangerous is when he buys time and makes the first couple pass rushers miss, and next thing you know, he's running around out there, and he's the best athlete on the field.
Well, and defensively, look, they got to clean it up. Last week they had mistakes that resulted in 3 big plays, and if you make mistakes against Lamar Jackson, the way that he can extend plays, and he's got an arm, okay, that flick of the wrist, and he can throw it 50 yards down the field. And with Odell Beckham Jr. and then also Zay Flowers, I mean, he's got 2 guys that that are pretty dang good.
Can go. Those guys can go.
Yeah, so you better clean up your defense this week because if not, it's going to be a long night.
Guys, tell us what your impressions have been of Keaton Mitchell, the rookie out of East Carolina, who's been coming on in their run game.
I think he's been playing good, Mike. He looked good, but it's really running back by committee. I mean, whoever has the hot hand, but the rookie's playing good. I don't think it matters who the back is because if Lamar Jackson is doing what Lamar – and you said it, Mike – when they're playing well, it goes everything run game and pass game goes through Lamar, and that's the key. Like you got to tackle. I think this team has not tackled well the last few weeks, and so you got to tackle well. They're physical backs, but to me, it comes back to stopping Lamar Jackson.
Well, and look, it's a running back by committee, and Mike Keaton Mitchell's been kind of hot for the Ravens lately, but it's still going to be. Gus Edwards, Justice Hill's going to get some carries in there as well. I mean, and here's the other thing that I will tell you about the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, to me, is the most dangerous runner they got. I mean, we can sit here and talk about Keaton Mitchell all we want, but Lamar Jackson is the guy that year in and year out has been leading the Ravens' offense in rushing.
Well, and to Jeff's point, guys, if you look at the flip card, every once in a while you see the starter like one guy or the other. I have never seen how they list their running backs, Gus Edwards or Justice Hill or Keaton Mitchell. And so to Jeff's point,
oars.
A bunch of oars in there. It's like we'll figure out who's running the ball. That doesn't really matter because we have a good, solid offensive line. I think their interior three are physical. They got the big Ricard, the big fullback, tight end, defensive lineman, whatever he is. And then they say we got the best, most athletic quarterback in the NFL.
What I'm looking forward to watching is the first play that the Ravens run tonight on offense. Because you go back to last week and you look at the first play that they ran against the Rams, and it was essentially a wham cut on Aaron Donald. Right? I mean, you're going to go right after the most dangerous guy on defense and send a message for the entire game.
They'll come.
What do they do tonight?
Ricard will probably go find Josh Allen. Is my guess.
Right?
Yep.
And to send a message to 41, we're gonna come after you all game and try to slow him down.
Yep.
Kind of analysis you can only get from these two guys. Have a great broadcast.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Jeff and Tony, you'll hear them all evening long. That'll do it for me here on the Publix Tailgate Show, Mike.
All right, Brian, bring us the W, please.
Yeah, well, do your best as well. If we just keep getting better week to week, maybe that's an inspiration.
I hope so.
We'll find out. JP Shadrick steps in next for hours 2 and 3, leading you to kickoff. Enjoy the game, folks. You're listening to Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Who will your child grow up to be? Well, that depends on all of us. That's why, along with our groundbreaking medical care, Nemours Children's Health supports programs that address issues like food insecurity and the resources essential to learning. It's all part of creating a healthier future for all children. So they can grow up to be whoever they want to be. Nemours Children's Health. Well beyond medicine.
When you show your home love with a natural gas water heater, it loves you right back with more cost-efficient, endless hot water.
Hon, hurry it up, please.
And right now, you'll love earning a cash rebate up to $700 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas water heater.
We're going to be late. Again.
What? Did you say something, hon?
To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. It's getting chilly outside, but you can enjoy the outside inside with a new glass lanai from Lifetime Enclosures. Or look ahead and get that backyard ready for spring with a new screened-in enclosure. And for the time being, you can stop into Lifetime Flooring to enter to win $20,000 in free flooring during the Score Free Floors promotion. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway and proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A top public university with more than 100 majors, UNF is #1 among state schools with the highest percentage of graduates employed in Florida. Affordable tuition, programs in high-demand fields, and faculty who care. Swoop into your future at UNF. Visit unf.edu to learn more.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
And it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show, 2 hours away from Week 15. The Baltimore Ravens 10-3, the Jacksonville Jaguars 8-5, coming up from EverBank Stadium on Sunday Night Football. And tonight's game presented by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. The first time since 2008 the Jaguars have played on NBC Sunday Night Football. So long ago, Mike, that Carrie Underwood was not singing the opening theme song for Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football
Had
back
she even
that far.
appeared on American Idol?
Probably not. It's a good question. It was Faith Hill in 2008, by the way.
Okay.
Been a while.
Yeah, I remember Faith.
It's been a minute for the Jaguars to be in some of these games, but hey, they got to get in these games now and play well in these games and win these games. And this is, a battle of first place teams in December.
All the pomp and circumstance, honestly, means nothing to what this game means to the Jaguars, man. Look, saw Houston come back today in a game they were down big without their quarterback, found a way to win on the road in the division. We saw Indy win on Saturday. Gardner Minshew's got them playing well, and they were down some of the key personnel that left during the game. Nobody's feeling sorry for you, man. You were in first place. The Ravens are not undefeated. They're not beating everybody by 25 points every week. They won in overtime last week at home. So go out there, play your best football, JP, find a way to scrape together more points than Baltimore does.
Game day weather is brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving, and it's been an interesting couple days in terms of weather here in Jacksonville, but it seems like the rain at least is gone for the rest of the night. Temperatures in the high 50s throughout the evening. The wind is still a little bit of an issue. It's gusting pretty high, but currently 16 miles per hour, can be up in the 20s miles per hour throughout the evening. So kicking could be a little bit of an issue with the wind swirling in the stadium tonight. Here are some of tonight's top stories. We start with head coach Doug Peterson looking for more out of this team. It's been a frustrating couple weeks with the self-inflicted wounds.
You look at the last 2 weeks and just the mistakes we've made. We had chances to win both games, but of course we didn't. So if we just eliminate some of the BS, let's call it, the internal things, the turnovers, the takeaways, the missed assignments, all that kind of stuff, you're feeling better, obviously, about yourself. But yeah, I think our guys have taken pride in that, obviously, this week. And, they want to put their best foot forward and go out and play a full, complete game.
It was a little concerning is too strong a word when Doug Peterson, I think, last week talked about after the Browns game, maybe the day after the game, we saw some of this preset stuff in practice, and it carried over to the game. Well, at some point, that's got to be eliminated in the practice field as well.
I agree with you, and I don't know. I mean, clearly they are there every day. They're trying to put together that plan, but we've heard that kind of in a few losses this year that, it was reflected in the week of practice. And you wouldn't expect that, JP, with so many guys that are carried over from last year, and they were so mentally tough last year, but they did have almost a feeling once they lost to Detroit, we can't afford to lose again, right? And they haven't been in that situation. Hopefully tonight they've got more of that feeling of desperation. And despite the fact that they turned it over that much last week, the defense made some opportunistic plays. Defense hasn't been great. Nothing's been great the last couple weeks. Maybe a few individual players like Evan Engram. But if you're beating yourself or putting yourself in bad situations against teams like the Baltimore Ravens, you're really up against it.
Yeah.
You're very unlikely to win in that circumstance.
Yeah, you're toast most weeks if you're doing that against
Play
teams like
clean.
this.
It doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but, give yourself a chance.
Offense missing those opportunities, turning the ball over, miscommunication between the quarterback and receivers at times, and offensive coordinator Press Taylor this week said that Trevor Lawrence not practicing much last week might have factored in some to that performance.
I think that's certainly a factor. Obviously, Trevor didn't practice last week. There's just certain things that come up, and you continue to grow and communicate through them and show examples and do everything you can to get on the same page. But if any of those plays ends on the ball hitting the ground, then it's something you continue to learn from, and unfortunately, those turned into plays for the other team.
From the quarterback's perspective, Lawrence knows they must improve, but he also knows the tape always tells the truth either way.
The tape is usually never as good or as bad as you think. So you watch it, and it is what it is. There's corrections. Obviously, there's things that we did in the game that are uncharacteristic and mistakes, all the way around that we can't make. But it is what it is, and you got to correct them and move on. And same thing, when you feel like you played great, there's usually stuff on the tape where you're like, maybe I didn't play as good as I thought I did. I left a lot out there. So, good or bad, you got to assess it, and you got to look at it for what it is, and you got to make the adjustments and corrections moving forward.
So that's not just the quarterback, that's adjustments, corrections from the receivers down the field as well. There were some instances last week where maybe they just didn't turn their head at the right time, didn't expect the ball to come that way in a certain route. It had not gone that way all season. Whatever the case is a turnover, and those have to be eliminated.
Well, we talk so much about what the Jags offense can do to supplement what they have. Well, what they have needs to be better, right? Like the key components, the frontline components of what they have. Zay Jones talked about it last week after the game, said, I just did not have a good game, didn't play my best at all. He and Calvin Ridley have to play like they're a legit NFL 1 and 2 in tonight's game. You had all those targets between them last week with very little production. Zay Jones had a pretty big game against the Baltimore Ravens last time around, so hopefully that will spark him tonight. But if Jones and Ridley can give you something north of 150 yards of receiving, then all of a sudden everybody else is not going to have to carry as much of a burden to let Evan Engram continue his hot play. Those are three big components in the passing game, and maybe, just maybe, that'll help and loosen things up a little bit for Travis Etienne.
When you get two of those guys going, that's more than a lot of offenses have.
Right. Like if Evan Engram stays at that level, it's hard to stay at that level that he's at right now. But if he stays close to that level in terms of production, and one of those guys has a 125-yard performance with a touchdown tonight, let's go.
Absolutely. Take that all night long. Priority number one for the Jaguars defense, though, tonight. Quarterback Lamar Jackson and defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell this week.
And just talking about Lamar, the different problems he presents in the run game and buying time as a passer. And the thing you see from him this year that we saw a little bit last year, but his completion percentage is going up. He's able to spread the ball around to his weapons, so he's taking full advantage of the guys they've surrounded him with.
So he can do it all. Obviously, a former MVP, but throwing it around a little bit more from the pocket this year. He can extend those plays, not necessarily running off those, but he can. He's the leading rusher as well.
And they installed a 21st century passing offense this year. Isn't that quaint that they brought in Todd Monken to kind of update where things were with that heavy RPO game? They'll still RPO you as well as anybody in the National Football League, but with Odell Beckham and Zay Flowers on the outside, even without Mark Andrews, he's got the best set of weapons that he has had, certainly on the outside, and Isaiah likely does a pretty reasonable facsimile of Andrews, maybe more athletic, not as consistent, but very dangerous athletically, so Lamar's got a bunch of weapons to spread it around to.
We heard about the offensive communication issues. The defense had their own last week as well, giving up 3 explosive play touchdowns on blown assignments, and defensive lineman DeJuan Smoot explains.
4 more weeks, another month. We're definitely still optimistic. We're still 8-5. Like, there's no need to panic. Like, we're still in a good place. We just need to be able to figure out the problems that are happening and communicate more as a team, and we need to all just get on the same page. It's all self-inflicted. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone can see it, like people are left wide open, and I can only speak on the defensive side, but it's just communication. We just need to all be on the same page, and when we go out there, we need to all just be able to trust that everyone's going to be in the right spots.
Now, on the defensive side, I mean, it's guys that, there's a lot of new faces out there filling in spots with injuries right now, but it's in certain instances, not the new guys out there making some of these mistakes as well.
That's right. And, look, they're going to be down some guys in the secondary tonight.
Yeah.
It just is what it is, and you've got to find a way to play better. Usually you face the Ravens, you're like, well, that's where you want your injuries. But as we just went through describing, that's not the case anymore. And all 3 touchdown passes from Joe Flacco last week were on some degree of busted coverage on every single one of them. And he didn't throw the ball great for most of the night. But any quarterback, certainly one as talented as Lamar Jackson, if you give him those kind of coverage busts, they're going to pick you apart and take advantage of them. So make them earn everything. I know it's cliche, but you've got to make them earn their way down the field. You can't give up a 40-plus yard touchdown on 4th and 3.
Bad for business, that's for sure. That's some of the best sound of the week. Bootleggers, get ready. Luke Combs is bringing 2 nights of the Growing Up and Getting Old tour to EverBank Stadium. That's May 3rd and 4th, 2024. Different special guests each night, and tickets are on sale now. Visit everbankstadium.com. Jaguars reporter Kai Stevens in studio with us. Good evening.
Hello, gentlemen. Nice to see you.
You too. It's Sunday Night Football, the first time in forever. And hey, we heard it a couple times in this the previous 5 minutes or so. Communication, talking to each other, miscommunication, not talking enough. I mean, it's week 15. What are we doing?
I know. It's very frustrating. You can tell the coaching staff's a little frustrated with it, the players a little frustrated with it because it shouldn't be a problem, right? Like at the very bare minimum, you should be able to communicate with the people that you're playing defense with. Obviously, we didn't see that. Offense, we saw it for the first time probably really visibly, like demonstratively, like, Calvin Ridley and Trevor Lawrence kind of not being on the same page at times, Zay Jones as well. So, I think we saw it on both sides of the ball for sure, but as much as they've talked about it this week, I'm hoping it'll be a little bit better. And I know we talked about the defense. A lot of the people we're used to seeing out there won't be out there in this game, and I think it might actually benefit them a little bit just because when it's rookies, I feel like people are overly talkative because they want to make sure they're in the right place, want to make sure they're doing the right things, whether it's Antonio Johnson or whoever it might be, even younger players, because I think sometimes when it's like, oh, like Rayshon's got that and they don't I think sometimes that's taken for granted. I think when there's younger players, you're overly talkative, and I'm hoping that they'll be doing that this week.
I'd rather have the starters and let them try to be overly talkative as well. I understand your point totally, though, Kai. I mean, that's just where they're at tonight. So how much do you think you're around this team all week? Can they compartmentalize what's gone on the last couple weeks? Like we, as media and fans, oh, my gosh, it's this, it's another, it's how many weeks this is building up. By Tuesday, they have to put it behind them, right? I don't know if they've always done that this year, but how likely are they to be able to do that tonight?
If they need to be, if they want to be the team that they are going to try to be in the playoffs, right? Like winning a division, making any sort of significant run in the playoffs, you have to be able to do that. And they talk about it being a week-to-week league. I think they're a little bit better at using it as motivation than they are necessarily from completely wiping it a clean slate and moving forward, which sometimes comes back to bite you. But if they can utilize that in a way that, hey, we don't want to be doing exactly what we did last week where we're giving up these huge plays and we're not on the same page, then that should benefit them. Whether we will actually see that, I'm not really sure. I think Trey Herndon coming back will help a little bit talking in the middle because I feel like there's such a weird disconnect there. I can't even put my finger on it. I've been trying to think about it all week. I just don't really know why they're doing it. I think that, but they like to play with that little bit of a chip, and I think losing 2 games in a row, kind of being at where they're at right now, they utilize that to kind of motivate them in the next game.
Kai Stevens with us in studio, Jaguars reporter, and this is a premier quarterback matchup, and those are becoming more and more a thing of the past, at least in this season in the NFL, with so many backup quarterbacks playing around the league. I mean, just yesterday alone, there were a bunch of them in those 3 games. Tonight, I mean, the Bills and the Cowboys have their guys out there. Obviously, there's about half the league has their starters, but you got Lamar Jackson and you got Trevor Lawrence. This is what you look for.
It's great because, I mean, we talked about the schedule. We had all those games circled that we thought were going to be good games, and then at this point, this one actually is going to be a good game because we're excited to see like pretty much the starters for both teams. And hopefully you get the best of the best, and that'll make it a good matchup. That's why it's the Sunday night matchup. Lamar Jackson is just so impressive. Like, obviously we knew what a talent he was beforehand, just, with his ability to run, and he always could throw, but now with the scheme that they have and the weapons they have for him, it's just taking it to another level of scary. So I'm hoping it's a shootout because I think that'll be the best bet. But yeah, I want to see Trevor do the same thing.
All right, we've got a lot going on tonight in the stadium, right? What's happening?
We do. We have another light show. This is a teal light show. So if you're coming to the game, there's a little card on your seat. and there will be a little teal sticker you can put on your phone, and then you can use the app or you can scan the barcode on the ticket on the card at your seat, and then it'll be a part of the light show, and it'll go all off when they do the intros at the beginning of the game.
Love that. Yeah, they said to be in the seat by about 7:50 to be
Try
safe.
to be early, people. Yes.
It's an 8:20 kick tonight.
8:20 kick.
8:22 officially, but 7:50 to be safe. Introductions are a little earlier, so enjoy the night. Should be a fun one. It should be dry, so that's good.
Should
news.
be dry.
Good.
We love that.
Yeah.
Great national anthem singer. I don't know their name yet, but whoever that is can sing. Sang, I would say.
Get it? Okay, I think you just said it. Have a great night, Kai.
Bye, guys.
Kai Stevens joining us in studio, and we're coming up on Inactives time. It's a little bit later tonight with an 8:20 kick. It would be, 6? I'm bad at math. Hour and a half before that. Yeah. So we've got about 30 minutes or so, 35 minutes.
Sure.
Somewhere to Inactives. And, of course, coming up in just a little bit, we'll have Bucky Brooks, John Ozier in the broadcast booth as well. We'll return, though, with Devin McCourty from Football Night in America on NBC Sports. The Ravens and Jaguars coming up on Sunday Night Football, and this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
JEA is proud to be Northeast Florida's community-owned utility. So what does that mean? It means we serve our local customers, not investors. That we're always focused on keeping our costs as low as possible while exploring new ways to deliver clean, affordable energy and water. And that we invest in our people and infrastructure to deliver reliable, sustainable services. Because for 127 years, JEA has been here to serve you, and only you. JEA, your community, your utility.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer.
Want to make sure he gets to the game on time?
Tommy, your uniform is ready. Let's go.
Install a natural gas dryer, and you're guaranteed faster drying times and softer laundry. And now you can earn a valuable cash rebate up to $200 on an energy-efficient natural gas dryer. Show your home love with natural gas, and it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
As the official ticket marketplace of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the NFL, Ticketmaster has a wide selection of tickets available for every game. Whether you're cheering on the Jaguars at home or away, Ticketmaster has you covered. With Ticketmaster's interactive seat map, you'll get a 360-degree preview of your seat so you can make sure you've got the best view of those pivotal plays. Plus, the Ticketmaster app makes it easy to sell or transfer tickets if your plans change. And mobile tickets make getting in on game day a breeze. Find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars. That's Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios at EverBank Stadium. The Publix Tailgate Show continues. We're about 2 hours from Week 15. The 10-3 Baltimore Ravens and the 8-5 Jacksonville Jaguars Kickoff set for 8:20, and tonight's game is presented by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. The Jaguars on Sunday Night Football on NBC tonight. Let's go around the National Football League.
All right, JP, Week 15 got underway on Thursday night, of course, with the Raiders hanging 63 a week after getting shut out by the Minnesota Vikings. So, again, they're averaging over 31 points a game their last two games, and they couldn't have done it in more disparate ways, and it led to Brandon Staley getting fired as the head coach of the L.A. Chargers. Raiders win that one 63-21. We had three home teams winning. Yesterday, the Bengals come all the way back. They're down 17-3 to Minnesota. They win it 27-24, so they're 8-6 now and right in the thick of it in the AFC playoff picture, as are the Indianapolis Colts. Keep in mind that the Jags have swept the Colts. The Colts now are 8-4 in their 12 games in which they haven't played Jacksonville. 30-13, very impressive at home against the Steelers yesterday, and the Lions all over the Broncos, who were trying to continue to put themselves in the AFC playoff picture. Earlier today in the division, the Tennessee Titans could have really helped the Jags out. They had a big lead over the Houston Texans with a backup quarterback, no C.J. Stroud, no Nico Collins, and they let Case Keenum bring them all the way back, get to overtime. Then the Texans able to win that one in overtime with a big performance from Devin Singletary on the ground. Will Levis, the Titans quarterback, got hurt near the end of the game, didn't come back on the field. The Tennessee offense wasn't back on the field, so we don't know what his status is going to be. Keep in mind, of course, the Jags wrap up the regular season in Nashville. So Texans and Colts right there breathing down the Jags' necks, and if the Jags lose tonight, they'll be in a tie with those two teams. Of course, they do have the tiebreakers over both of them right now. Could have gotten a little help from the Chicago Bears today as well. Bears were up big on the Cleveland Browns, 17-7, fairly late. Browns got 13 points in the final frame, and they won that one 20-17 to improve to 9-5. And, of course, by virtue of last week's win, have a head-to-head tiebreaker if the Jags were to fall into wild card range and not lock down this division. The rest of the games this week really involving NFC teams. Panthers beat the Falcons for only their second win of the season. The Saints over the Giants 24-6. You had Tampa Bay, next week's opponent, going up to Green Bay, getting to 7-7 with a 14-point win over the Packers. So the Bucs are going to be primed for that matchup next week, sitting at home waiting. And currently you got three games going on in the National Football League. Niners have the Cardinals at arm's length, 28-16. The Bills all over the Dallas Cowboys. Just missed an opportunity to get a fourth touchdown of the day, settle for a field goal. It's 24-3, and they're running the ball down Dallas's throat. And the Rams up on the Commanders, 20-7. That one out in Los Angeles at the end of the third quarter.
That Texans game was so annoying.
So frustrating. I mean, this is one you're like, all right, we're going to get some help this week. They're not going to have their quarterback. They're not going to have their number one wide receiver. They're not going to have their number two wide receiver who's out for the year. And despite all that, Tennessee comes out to a big lead, gets a defensive touchdown early. You're thinking, okay, they're going to bury them. And then their offense just shifted into park for most of the rest of the game. They only got a field goal after that and let Houston hang around, made enough plays down the stretch. And, I thought the Colts would win at home versus Pittsburgh. That one didn't surprise me. And you do have the sweep, but you only have the tiebreaker over the Texans due to your division record, and that would have just about cemented the tiebreaker in your favor. I think it would have locked it up for Jacksonville. So, look, bottom line, JP, it's all still in their hands. You win this game tonight, you don't have to worry about tiebreakers. You're a game ahead with all the tiebreakers. So, it's incumbent on the Jags to take care of their own business because it doesn't look like they're going to get a whole lot of help in the AFC playoff picture.
Here's a look around the NFL in Week 15. Devin McCourty was a three-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots as a cornerback early in his career and later as a safety, and he played through last season. He retired officially early this year and immediately joined NBC Sports as an analyst for Football Night in America ahead of Sunday Night Football. And he has experience lining up against a Doug Peterson offense. And even without wide receiver Christian Kirk now, Jags play caller Press Taylor has plenty of options.
Yeah, I mean, I played against Doug Peterson in 17 and that Super Bowl against, Philadelphia. And it was the same kind of thing. It was Zach Ertz at tight end. It was Alshon Jeffrey at receiver. It was Nelson Aguilar at receiver. It was Torrey Smith. It was LeGarrette Blount or Jay Ajayi or Clement. Like, they just had all of these different guys who, if you step back and somebody said, hey, at all of these different positions, pick your top three guys, nobody probably would pick any of those guys. But when you put it together and you have to go out there and plan as a defense and you turn on the film, you're like, like this is like these guys are really getting after it. Evan Ingram's a problem at tight end. His speed, his athletic ability, like who guards him? Safety, linebacker, corner. Like it's a tough matchup. And you start to look at that. And I think Jacksonville's done an awesome job. Like I watched the Cincinnati game and the first 2 drives, everybody was getting a touch. Evan Ingram got it. Dearness Johnson got it. ETN got it. Zay Jones, Christian, like everybody touched the ball. So now when you get back to the sideline of like, all right, this is their attack. This is what we're doing. It's like, hey, coach, not it. But they also threw it to him. Hey, coach, they also put him in this spot. Hey. So like when you do that, I think that's what Doug Peterson does really well. And now it's trying to figure out, all right, is Parker Washington going to be a guy where we can say, hey, go step and be all of Christian Kirk's roles? Or is he a guy now that they have to move guys around and say, all right, we want to put you here, put this. Like that's what they're going to have to figure out, what they think the best kind of group or positions each guy should be in going forward. That isn't always easy to do after you build something like that, to just know exactly what, what pieces of the puzzle and where they should be. And I think that's what Doug Peterson's figuring out now.
Devin McCourty with us, NBC Sports, Football Night in America, Ravens, Jaguars on Sunday Night Football this week. And the Jaguars defense has really prided itself on stopping the run. For the most of the season, they've been really good in that department and taking the ball away. And they did that again last week. They're tied for first in the league in takeaways. But they gave up some big play touchdowns last week, a 41-yarder, a 34-yarder, a 31-yarder, missed assignments or lack of communication, which has been the buzzword this week around here on both sides of the ball. How concerning is that communication thing in week 15? I mean, it feels like that should have been taken care of in like week 5. Is that a problem for a defense this late?
I mean, it is. Like you can't say that it's not. And I think when I watch them, obviously Caldwell comes under that Todd Bowles aggressive, different blitz packages. I remember talking to Logan Ryan when he went to Tampa Bay, and he was like, man, they have a lot of defense. Like there's a lot of different things and adjustments you can do. And when you have that, it makes it harder to communicate. It's a week in and week out different thing that you have to communicate, because when you do a lot, depending on who you play, they could also do a lot, or they could do less, or they could do this different than that. So you always have to communicate. And I think when I watch them, they do. They kind of, what we call on defense, we used to call it spin the wheel. Like you're not going to get this team that, I think some teams we talk about like the Seattle 3, like that cover 3, you're going to get it all the time, or you're going to get man-to-man all the time. Like when I turn on Jacksonville, you might get 2 safeties high in a cover 2, or you might get 2 safeties high in a cover 4. You might get, 5-man pressure. You might get 6-man pressure. You might see the corner go. You might see like they do a lot of different things. And when you do that, the communication has to always have a certain standard. No matter who's in the game, we always have to hit this standard. When all of our guys are in there and our top communicators get together, all right, we can raise that bar. But I think last week they hit a guy like Joe Flacco, who everything that you're doing, he's seen it before. He knows what's coming. So I didn't think they did as good of a job of disguising some things. So when they did come or they did do different things, he knew exactly where he wanted to go.
Devin McCourty with us. Final thought here and mentioning Lamar. New play caller this year in Baltimore. How different is Lamar's game overall this year than in the past? And obviously still effective on both ways, running and throwing the football.
Yeah, I think the early part of his career, I think he took a lot of the flack for the way the offense was built. It was always like, he can't do this, he can't do that. And it was kind of like, well, we don't know. Like, it's not his decision to be in here and running these different plays and having an offensive line that was kind of built. And I don't want to say like Navy football and a triple option, but it was kind of built like these road grading offensive linemen who could fire off the ball. They could do all that. But anytime they got behind, like their strength as an offensive line wasn't dropping back and pass protecting and passing off game. Like they struggled with those things. So because of that, they had a lot of all, 3-step drops, like quick slants, quick outs, hitch routes, stop right over the ball. Like it was all very basic. And I was always saying that to people like, well, we don't know if Lamar Jackson can be a guy who stays in the pocket and throws the ball downfield. And we're finding out this year he can do that. And he can do that. And then when all else fails, like you turn on the Rams game, it was raining, the field conditions were poor. Not for number 8. He was running, cutting, juking, making plays. So he's the guy that he's always been. You don't really want to play against him as a defense. It's very similar to when I was in the league playing against Cam Newton. You can say whatever you want about what he couldn't do and this. As a defense, it wasn't that enjoyable trying to stop a guy like him because, yes, he wasn't Peyton Manning, he wasn't Tom Brady and Drew Brees, but he was a tank. And when he ran, you were like, man, how are we going to get this guy down? And Lamar Jackson's a guy, when he runs, you're like, how are we going to get a hand on him? And then, like, the last play that he hit Zay Flowers on and the touchdown before over, like, he moves up, he moves back, he slides. And then when he sees Zay Flowers, just like that, the ball flings from his wrist, like in his hand, and it's gone. It's a touchdown. Like, that's so hard to stop. So, hey, Jacksonville defense, I'm happy I don't have to do that anymore. And good luck going out there Sunday night.
That's Devin McCourty from Football Night in America on NBC, freshly retired. Says his body feels great now. Imagine that.
Not good enough to chase Lamar.
No, not that good. Hear the full conversation on the official Jaguars podcast network. That's free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. Also on Jaguars.com. Just click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. Inactives coming up soon. We'll get a fantasy forecast and Frank Franti in the broadcast booth. But up next, a pregame huddle up podcast with Bucky Brooks and John Oehser. We're closing in on kickoff in Week 15 for Sunday Night Football. The Ravens and the Jaguars, a battle of first-place teams. And this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A top public university with more than 100 majors, UNF is number 1 among state schools with the highest percentage of graduates employed in Florida. Affordable tuition, programs in high-demand fields, and faculty who care. Swoop into your future at UNF. Visit unf.edu to learn more.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your workforce solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, EverBank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
Hey Jags Nation, it's Andre Sisco, safety of your Jacksonville Jaguars, here to talk to you about Lou-Ray Peanut Company. Lou-Ray is bringing something to the market that has never been done before, microwavable boiled peanuts. Whether you like salty or a peppery Cajun kick, they've got you covered. Now, thanks to them, y'all can enjoy boiled peanuts at the bank while you watch me and the rest of the team tear it up on the field. Can't make the game? No sweat. Find a bag at a store nearest to you by heading to LouRayPeanut.com/find us. Go nuts, go Jags, and as always, Duval.
JP Shadrick and Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios at EverBank Stadium. The Ravens at 10-3, the Jaguars at 8-5 on Sunday Night Football, and kickoff at 8:22 officially at the bank tonight. And tonight's game is presented by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Inactives are due in about 15 minutes or so. We'll get to those when they are announced tonight. A lot of eyeballs on what the Jaguars will be doing. A lot of names on the injury report this week. We'll get to that in due time. It's time to go upstairs and welcome in senior writer John Oehser from Jaguars.com. And I guess Bucky Brooks is stuck in security. Is that right, John?
He's in transit. That's what I know. And I'm a poor substitute, but I'll poor substitute as good as I can.
No. We should.
I'll do what I can.
We should rename the segment to the John Oehser segment because the show.
Probably not time for that, but it's fine.
The show is named after Bucky, and he's not around tonight. So
it's a blow.
It certainly is. Hey, this is what you kind of wait for, these December games, right? And waited for them to matter for a long, long time. Now they matter. The Jaguars have to make sure that they know they matter as well. And these mistakes that they're making the last couple weeks can't pop up in games like this. And with everything so tight all of a sudden in the division and in the AFC playoff race and seeding, every little mistake is magnified this time of year.
Yeah, and I think what you hope for the Jaguars is, look, forget about the last 2 weeks. Know that you probably, in some capacity, gave those games away more than you usually do, especially last week's game, and focus on, hey, if you win this, and as Doug Peterson said all week, if you just play relatively mistake-free and give yourself a chance and you win this, then all of a sudden you're right in it, and the last 2 weeks don't matter a bit. And that's sort of what December football usually is. It's really that this year. As crazy as the AFC is, if the Jaguars win, you feel awful about things. I mean, if the Jaguars lose tonight, you feel awful about things. If they win, you feel great, and you start figuring out number one seed scenarios. So it's huge. Get out of your own way.
Yeah, I'll worry about the game lead they'd have in the division. The number one seed scenarios, I hope they come into focus.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, right? Like, I think they just need, John, that breathing room right now. With Houston getting that comeback win today, you don't want to have to go to the tiebreakers here with 3 weeks to go, which is where they'd be. Let me just ask you, the running game has been stuck in the mud, right?
Yeah.
Travis Etienne's yards per carry has been declining all season. And is there hope, maybe with the return of Walker Little and Ezra Cleveland, if they get them both back tonight? I mean, that's, I guess, the best hope they have, right, to turn something around?
Yeah, the hope is, sometimes in this league, crazy things happen, and teams come out and they find it. They find the crease. The guys find the holes a little better, and you sort of break tendency. But, I'm not going to sit here on the radio and say that I think they're going to be a great running team tonight because the matchup doesn't favor that. What you mentioned is the hope. And Bucky stepping in here, so I'll just throw you into the fire a little bit. Can Ezra Cleveland and Walker Little, if they're playing and healthy tonight, can they be a key to unlock the running game? Because they sure need to.
Yeah, they're going to have to run the football. It's tough. It's going to be tough sledding against the Ravens defense that wants to prioritize taking away the running game, forcing into long yardage situations. But to me, this is a matter of toughness and execution. Toughness in terms of mentally and physically. You got to move them off the ball. And mentally, you got to be able to know what they're doing and do it right each and every time. And then you got to be committed to it. And so if they execute the game plan, they run the football just enough to keep the Ravens from forcing the Jaguars into a one-dimensional attack, then the offense will have a chance to really attack what can be a vulnerable secondary at times.
Bucky Brooks and John Oehser upstairs here at the bank. What about this, the miscommunications of sorts in the passing game last week, Bucky? And it seems like they bristled a bit at the wrong routes comments from some folks this week. But how do they fix that?
Well, I think you fix it by making sure everyone's on the same page. And the way that you do that, simplify what you're asking them to do. As much as, coaches love to have all the answers to the test, sometimes you can bombard the players with information. So if they are having issues lining up, running the correct route, then what you have to do is take that off of them, simplify it, Put in things that you know that they know well so they can play fast. Because at the end of the day, it's not about trickery. It's about execution. So you have to do what the players can do as opposed to what you may want to do based upon what you're doing on the whiteboard.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a matter of making sure that the plays you're calling are the plays that you've repped the right way and that the players are most comfortable with. Make sure you've seen that they get it all week. I mean, it's it's such a fine line, and it's such a game of inches, to use that cliche, but it really is. One receiver turning the head at the right time or not can be a huge difference. That's what it was last week. Just make sure that the guys are ready for what's called. Should be more basic than this, but that's what they've got to do tonight.
Hey guys, talking to Tony Boselli and Jeff Lageman earlier, I think the feeling is with Lamar Jackson is you want to keep him contained, make him a pocket passer, but he's got better weapons than he's ever had to execute from the pocket. So what is your rush plan if you're the Jaguars? Do you try to do that kind of mush rush and just keep him contained? Because I feel like sometimes when teams aren't aggressive going after him, that's when he just kind of bounces around in the pocket, springs out the side door, and makes a lot of big plays.
I don't think you can attack Lamar Jackson scared. I think if you go hesitant, worried about what he could do, that's when he's going to hurt you. Much like you said about teams kind of sitting back and trying to spy him or whatever, what you give him is enough time to find those receivers. And the receiving core that they have now is an upgrade over what they've had in the past. Odell Beckham Jr., Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, some of the other guys, they can win versus one-on-one coverage. The trick is you got to pressure him, but you don't want to go past the depth of the quarterback. So if Lamar Jackson drops to 8 yards, the edge rushers can't go beyond 8 yards because what that does is it leaves creases in the pocket for him to escape. So you just have to understand how you want to rush him, but no, you can't let your foot off the gas and let him sit back and have a 7-on-7 period with no rush. You got to make him quicken his clock because he will turn the ball over as well.
I'm going to hit Bucky with a question for the coach here. I feel like the Jaguars have rushed this sort of quarterback well, really for the last couple of years. It used to be where they really gave – if they were playing mobile guy, they were in a lot of trouble because that guy was – they were going to rush past him. They were going to create those lanes. I thought they did it okay against the they kind of rushed that way against Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they did it and he's not the same sort of mobile, but you know what I'm getting at. They've had good controlled pressure. They've had good not letting the guy outside the pocket. To me, I think that's a potential, I don't say matchup advantage, but I don't necessarily know that it's a place where the Ravens have a huge edge on the Jaguars tonight. Are they a good team doing what you just talked about, Bucky?
Yeah, now I think they can do it. Here's the trick. The trick will be normally when you play a mobile passer like Lamar Jackson, you want to play more zone than man-to-man. When you play man-to-man, your back is to the quarterback. So if he does flee the pocket, now no one is aware that he's going. When you play zone, you have vision on the quarterback. You can keep him in front, and everybody is aware of where number 8 is. The thing about that is you got to be able to close quickly when he does throw the ball. He fits it to those wide receivers on checkdowns and the like because you don't want those short gains to turn to big gains because they break a tackle. I would expect to see more zone coverage from the Jaguars than man-to-man, and then you just got to rally and tackle whoever has the ball.
There you have it, the pregame Huddle Up podcast. Bucky Brooks, John Ozier, and enjoy the game tonight, guys. Appreciate it.
Guys, thanks.
Thank you,
There
guys.
we are in the broadcast booth. Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks airs Wednesdays at 4 on Jaguars.com and the Jaguars YouTube channel. We are back in just a few moments. Inactives are due very soon. We'll get to those when they are announced. We'll get a fantasy forecast coming up. So a lot of the games are being played right now. We'll see what Mike Dempsey has up his sleeve for this one. And we'll hear from Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth as well. We're closing in on the 7 o'clock start for Countdown to Kickoff on the Jaguars Radio Network. That's in about 17 minutes and change. And this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Imagine traveling to watch the Jaguars take on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville aboard a luxury private jet. Download the free Vaunt app at flyvaunt.com/Jags for your chance to win round-trip private flights, hotel stay, game tickets, and pregame field passes for you and 3 of your friends. When you become a Vaunt member, you can unlock the opportunity to fly private for an entire year for only $1,000. That's it. So download Vaunt at flyvaunt.com/Jags and discover a world of private jet travel today. Tackle your marketing needs with Kessler Creative. Providing direct mail services for more than a decade, Kessler has a wide range of services from small mailers to large banners and signs. Draft Kessler as your first pick to receive the best targeted mail list. Elevate your business and be on the winning team with Kessler Creative. Kessler Creative. Results-driven marketing and proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Calling all junior fire chiefs. Parents, register for your child to win the ultimate Jaguars game day experience. Cheering on the Jags from the brand new Firehouse Subs fire truck at EverBank Stadium, flashing the fire truck lights when the Jags score. As honorary junior fire chief of the game, your child will receive a Firehouse Subs gift, and the whole family will receive 4 tickets and a parking pass to a home game this season. Visit Jaguars.com/sweepstakes to enter to win today. See website for terms and conditions. Football and Miller Lite. Duval's greatest pairing. Can cracks and kickoff. Tailgates going well past postgame. Sunday night overtime. Followed by Monday morning pride. Knocking on bar tops for luck. Kicking back on any given Sunday. You never forget the way some things taste. Jags football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios at the bank. The 10-3 Baltimore Ravens and the 8-5 Jacksonville Jaguars kick off at 8:20 on Sunday Night Football. And tonight's game is presented by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. We're about 5 minutes away from the Inactives coming down. We'll get to those shortly. Let's get a fantasy forecast or review, I suppose, from Mike Dempsey.
More of a look ahead to what we've got on tap for tonight. Today we had obviously a lot of big performances, games ongoing right now, as well as Christian McCaffrey, to no one's surprise, 3 times in the end zone today. Shouldn't be to anybody's surprise. For instance, 2 through the air, 1 on the ground. But, JP, let me ask you, who is the highest scoring fantasy quarterback over the last 4 weeks of the season?
Last 4 weeks? Let's see. It's probably not Goff because he's turned it over a bunch. Probably not Russell Wilson because he had a 3-interception game. Let's see. Is it Flacco?
How about Trevor Lawrence?
Really?
How about Trevor Lawrence?
Really?
Yes. And now look, real world is not always perfectly in sync with the fantasy world, but he's not. He's gone over 20 points in every game. He's had a 30-point game, had a couple in the mid-20s. So now Josh Allen has averaged a few more points. He had his bye. But if you're in Josh Allen company, fantasy-wise, Trevor Lawrence has been outstanding over the last month. You can win a lot of fantasy games. Obviously, this is the first week of the fantasy playoffs for most leagues right now.
Makes sense. He's sneaking some touchdowns, like reaching over, some of that.
And certainly the interceptions hurt you, but he's produced a lot of yards, and he's run a little bit. So it's all come together to where he has been very consistent, at least fantasy-wise, and putting up big numbers for you heading into the postseason. Problem is, Ravens are the 3rd toughest fantasy matchup for opposing quarterbacks tonight. Well, it's got to get easier somewhere else. Well, the pass catchers, you wouldn't expect it would be that much easier. They're number 6 against wide receivers. They're number 8 against tight ends. Okay, so we'll run the ball. Well, they're number 6 against running backs as well. You usually put up big fantasy numbers against the Baltimore Ravens. On the other side of things, obviously Lamar Jackson is has long been a fantasy stud since he took over the starting job as a rookie there in Baltimore, but he's leaned on a different back over the last month. Keaton Mitchell has quietly come on and been the more effective player. He's got the long speed. Gus Edwards is still the preferred guy at the goal line. They don't run Lamar Jackson a lot at the goal line particularly, so Gus gets a lot of short yardage touchdowns, but Keaton Mitchell has actually outscored him 3 of the past 4 games. I would expect that trend to continue down the stretch. He's a much more explosive player. And speaking of explosive, OBJ coming off a 100-yard game. Zay Flowers starting to flourish in that passing game as well. You would think this offense in Baltimore would have taken a big step back with the injury to Mark Andrews, the most trusted receiver for Lamar Jackson. But Isaiah Likely is probably more athletic than Andrews is at this stage of his career. He's just not as consistent. So you've got a dangerous trio out there tonight with OBJ, Zay Flowers, and Isaiah Likely. It's going to really put the Jags defense to the test here tonight. We got word today for Monday Night Football that Jalen Hurts, who obviously is a guy that you don't even think about when he's on your fantasy roster, that you plug him into your lineup every single time, had an illness that was so bad that they've downgraded him to questionable to play tomorrow night, and he had to take his own separate flight out to Seattle so he didn't infect the rest of his teammates with whatever he's dealing with right now. So he is legitimately under the weather. My guess is they're building up some drama. Jalen Hurts is going to play. But if you've got Hurts on your fantasy roster, I hope you made a move earlier today to pick up Marcus Mariota. I've got him as my starter in a couple of playoff teams, and I picked up Mariota as a fail-safe for Monday night. A great pivot would be if you had Geno Smith. Here's the problem. You don't know if Geno Smith is going to play. This is a wonderful matchup for the passing game. Philadelphia, as good as they are as a team, has not done a really good job against opposing quarterbacks and certainly wide receivers. It's the number 1 matchup for wide receivers. So you're going to play DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett anyway, but Jackson Smith and Jigba could be in for a nice flex-level performance that might even exceed that, jump up into the wide receiver 2 range with the right combination of targets. But we don't know if it's going to be Geno, who's been battling an ankle injury, or if it's going to be Drew Lock. Lock more heavily targeted Tyler Lockett than he did DK Metcalf last week, but Metcalf the better opportunity to score a touchdown. So that's going to be your last one to hopefully win your opening round playoff game. So hopefully you get a few select Eagles and Seahawks available to you tomorrow.
There you have it. The fantasy forecast is in. Let's quickly get to the inactives for tonight's game. The Jaguars have 6 players down tonight. And, well, 2/5, 40%, 20%. I'm terrible at math. What is that? 2/5. What is
40%?
Yeah, 40%.
Yeah, 40%.
Thank you. Yes, all that math I took at Alabama is great. Andre Cisco is out, the safety. Tyson Campbell, the corner, is out tonight with a quadriceps injury. Yasir Abdullah inactive again, the rookie outside linebacker. Chandler Brewer, offensive lineman, is out. Brenton Strange, still with a foot injury. The rookie tight end is out. And defensive tackle Angelo Blackson is inactive. Those are the 6 down for the Jags tonight.
All right, got 6 for the Ravens as well. A pair of quarterbacks, although Josh Johnson will be the emergency 3rd quarterback. Malik Cunningham, newly acquired off the Patriots practice squad, is inactive for the game. Cornerback Demarion Williams and another corner, Rock Yassin, are both out. Sam Mustipher, the center, will not play. And much to Frank Frangi's delight to not have to pronounce this over and over tonight, Sola Amuvai Laiolu, I don't even know if I'm in the ballpark. He's a guard, backup offensive lineman, will not be playing for the Baltimore Ravens. So that's the last time anyone needs to pronounce that name on this broadcast.
Frank Frangi, you want to give it a try in the booth?
I do not. And by the way, Mike, thank you for that very much. He's number 71, which is what I was going to call him tonight.
Big number 71.
That. And, JP, I also do want to confirm that 2/5 is 40%. So I think you're off to a great
Appreciate
start there.
That.
So we've got all that going today.
We're rolling right now.
We really are on a beautiful, beautiful night at the bank. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Sunday Night Football, first time forever. And, it's a Jags team that's got to play better overall. They still haven't hit their stride. They haven't played that full, complete, complimentary game, it feels like, this year. This would be a good night to start.
Yeah, you know what, JP, you're right about that. But what I like about them, they've lost a few in a row, and now they've got maybe the other than the 49ers, the best team they're going to play all year coming in here in the Ravens. The Ravens are very good. But I will tell you, I think this is a team that finds a way to win games, finds a way to hang around. No one's rolling these guys. I know the Niners did. But for the most part, I think they're going to play well tonight. I don't know if they're going to win the game or not. But I would be very surprised with everybody watching prime time. Everybody talks about Sunday Night Football. It's, like you said, it's been a long, long time. I'll bet the Jags play well tonight. My gut is, well, I'm not sure if they'll win the game, but I'll bet you see a good performance and a more of that complimentary football, JP, that everybody talks about.
Talking with Bucky Brooks a moment ago, Frank, I agree with him. You got to be aggressive going after Lamar Jackson, right? A lot of people want to mush rush him or spy him and just kind of contain him, but I feel like that enables him to extend plays even more, and he keeps his eyes downfield better than he has at any point in his career. What's the approach to try to slow down Lamar, in your opinion?
Well, you said it. He's in his 6th year in the league, so he's learned. This is the league, as you know, Mike, of punching and counter-punching. The first thing when Lamar got into the league, he was a way better scrambler than he did anything else. So if you rushed him and over-pursued, he would make you pay. Then people started not doing that as much, and that started working. So then he became not only a better pocket quarterback, but he learned how to scramble differently. So I think it's a back-and-forth thing. I do think, Mike, as cliche as it sounds, you can't over-pursue. I think you can't. If you're all out on him too much and he gets loose, what you don't want is Lamar gets loose for 35 yards. That kills you. That kills the momentum. That fires up the Ravens sideline. That's one of the biggest concerns is everybody's covered and you've done a good job defensively and you're fighting against the offensive line and he makes one spin move and he goes for 35 yards. That's the thing you have to avoid. In fact, I think if you look at the end of the game, if Lamar Jackson doesn't have a 10-yard run, I think you're going to be in pretty good shape. I think that's a big key to the game.
And, hey, special teams. Jamal Agnew's up. So, hey, this is a special teams group in Baltimore that's always solid. So figure it out tonight on special teams because you never know what can come with Baltimore in town.
Well, here's the thing, too. They got maybe the best kickers ever played, JP, as you know, and Justin Tucker. I think if you have one of those defensive, physical games, now the Ravens have been scoring some points, but if it gets into one of those defensive, physical, mano-a-mano games, yeah, it does come down to special teams. I think the Jags, I've said this before, when Brandon McManus, Logan Cook, and Jamal Agnew are all healthy and in the game, that trio, you can line them up against a lot of them in the league now, JP. I really believe that. Maybe not better than this group, but it's right there. So, it's great to have Jamal Agnew back, isn't it? He's explosive. He makes more plays that turn games, even if it's just a punt return of 35 yards, right? He changes more games, and it's great to have a 39 back in the lineup.
All right, Frank, have a great call tonight on Sunday night. Fantastic matchup, battle of first-place teams, and get your teal ready for your phone for the light show tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks, fellas.
That's Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth upstairs.
We're wearing our teal. So.
Yeah, I got underneath. I'm going to switch it once we get to game time.
Right on.
Take the black over shirt off, and then, then get to business.
I can see your shirt. I knew what shirt you were wearing.
It's a teal one.
Yes.
We're back in a moment. Countdown to kickoff on the Jaguars Radio Network coming up. We'll hear from Fred Taylor, Devin McCourty, Evan Engram, and, yes, head coach Doug Peterson ahead of the Ravens and the Jaguars. It's Week 15 at Sunday Night Football. This has been the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.